Hi, welcome to Wealth Master Institute, where we call it the WMI, Wealth Master Institute. Last lesson, we talked about the American dream. We talked about, is it working for you, the American dream? Today, we want to talk about exposing the financial trap, the American dream scheme. Last week, we laid a foundation about the American dream, what it is, where you go to school, get an education, preferably you get a college degree, you get a master's, or you get a PhD, or you get a bachelor's, or you get an associate, and then you take that degree, you go find you a great job, which we call career, and then you get into your career and you work your career um, up to the latest age, 65, retire. You have a pretty good retirement, and then you live the rest of your life off your retirement. That's what is called the American Dream plan. But I call it the American Dream scheme because it's a it's the problem is it's mostly a theory. And I know some people will say, well, I lived it. Well, I know you probably can say that, certain generations could say that, but today is no longer a reality. And then not only that, was it ever really a reality? For instance, like if we say the goal is to is for every American to be able to run the mile in less than 4 minutes. What is the ratio of people that will be able to run a mile in less than 4 minutes? What would be the ratio of anybody being able to do anything? See, one of the greatest tragedies that we have in our society is that we make a thing good for a few people, and there's very few, and then we say it was successful because a few people were able to do it. We take the mud and throw it against the wall, and we say, see, no, not all the mud stood, but it's a success because some of the mud stuck to the wall. So we want to talk to you. We want to start giving you a better plan that you can adopt so that it enhances your capacity to be able to do it. Because when I set the rules, most of the time, if I'm setting the rules and you don't have no input into the rules, I'm going to set the rules to where they're all to my advantage. For instance, if we're playing a game of cards, playing Uno or spades or whatever we're playing, or if we're doing gym ramen, if I get to make up my own rules, I got a better chance. But you may not have that good opportunity. So the American Dream scheme was something that was hashed by elite people. They decided that they wanted to be wealthy and they wanted to build their financial empires. And so some of them came up with what they called the public education system. And the public education system, the goal of it was to simply educate people that would be able to come into their uh, factories and manufacturers and be able to work after being programmed or conditioned with the mindset that what they would need to depend on manufacturers and institutions. So now what we have is we are institution, we are institution, institution, man, I'm way off. Institution that is dependent. We're institution dependent. And because we're institution dependent, they get us into public schools, into these public colleges or even private colleges, and they continue, and it is all contingent on making us institution dependent. And it's aligned in a way that only a few people are going to actually do it. And then what we do is we take those few people and say it's a success. I want you to think about something. If I want you to think a certain way, and I got power of the media, all the entertainment and different things, and if I control it, I'm able to take a few things and show how successful something is. But on the other hand, I can take a few things and show how unsuccessful something is. For instance, if I was to tell you that most people are poor, so the system has failed, then they will say, show you the few people that have succeeded and this thing is a success. They take a few things to show how it succeeded. I take and show the few things, show how it's unsuccessful. But because I don't have the control of the institutions, then they can discredit my few theory and they can elevate their few theory. The system, which is called the American Dream Plan, if you will, does work for a few people. But it is not even built to work for most people. And then the few people will come out and tell you that it's made for the many, but you just didn't take advantage of it. And therefore, although it was built for many, it only works for a few. And so I want to talk to you to get you to start understanding what I call the wealth wisdom plan. See, so that we won't, or you don't have to be institutionally dependent, but you can develop your own wealth wisdom plan, and it has options that you can customize it to fit the way you think. So we're going to be talking to you about this wealth wisdom plan, but I want to first, and what we said, the wealth wisdom plan has different components to it. It has business, leverage income, residual income, multiple streams of income, passive income, and investment income, and that's what it is. So we have business, leverage income, residual income, multiple streams of income, investment income, and passive income. And we've been talking about business, and we're going to continue this conversation about business. There are 4 types of business. There are other types, but the ones I want to focus on, 4 types of business. 1, land, which we also call real estate. Investment. Which stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and so on, and investing in different companies. But the main 3 is products. And 4, service. What we was talking about last week is that in this business realm, let me say this. This is the business that is the reason for the most financial problems in America. People do not realize it, but all business, and that's where I want to go. I'm feeling the lead to go that way. All business stems from land. All business. And let me explain what I mean when I say all business. Every type of business is just basically how you use whatever land it is. Every business is on land. It starts with land. What do I mean? Every type of business has an address. Every business has an address. Even if it is an online business, it has an address. Think about it. Even if you have a home-based business, the business is out of your home. It has an address. It has an IP, what we call a IP address, whatever the URL is or whatever the name of the website is. But everything, and it's a reason, but everything starts with land. All resources come out of land. Everything that's built, every building that you see, all of it is land. Every service business, it don't matter what it is. Every business comes from land. It is all stemming from real estate. And I could tell you that the cost of everything is determined by real estate. I'll even tell you this. When we value a dollar, the value of the dollar is always measured against real estate. Think about it. When you buy a home, it's worth so much. And then they tell you by next year it'll be worth more. And then the next year it'll be worth more. What is that telling you? It's telling you that the value of your dollars are getting less and less. Because if you wanted to buy your own home, if somebody else was selling it to you, it will be not that the house, quote, is more valuable, but how could something that's getting older be more valuable? Think about it. It's becoming more valuable, they say. Something that is deteriorating, decaying, getting older becomes more valuable because they measure the value of our dollars by the value of land. The banks want their value to go up because they're in the real estate financing business. And they want to be able to always earn more money by loaning out money to real estate. Because whenever you borrow money, you're borrowing money against land. It's all borrowed against land. Even if you have a home-based business, they're still valuing it based on the land. And we're going to get into this more next week because this is going to be eye-opening for you. And there's going to be some history that I'm going to be able to give you also when it dictates about land. But it is land that determines. When you go to New York, why is life more expensive in New York than it is in Atlanta? Why is Atlanta more expensive than Wooltime, Georgia? It's all based on land. Whenever we talk about how wealthy some place is, we're always talking about how wealthy it is, not based on the number of businesses or that, but based on the land prices. And what happens is institutions move into, and once they do, the institutions led by the banks and the corporate, they start establishing the land prices. And then they begin to say, oh, this area is booming because the land prices are going up. I want you to just ask yourself this question. Why is a place getting wealthier, but I'm getting poor? Think about it. Why do, when you say a person had bad credit, he should pay a higher interest rate when he already got bad credit? So how can he afford to pay more? So we're going to start answering these questions and deal with this more thoroughly in the following lessons. And we're going to get into the power of the land business, and then we're going to also relate. And before we shut it down, I just want to say, every employee is in the service business. You are selling your service as an individual, and it's called a job. You are selling that to your employer, and you're trading your service, and you're hired out in time. That's why you get paid by the hour, because you give them your time. But although it's your time, they set the time that you provide the service, and they call that set time for you to use your service a schedule. And we're going to be talking about this, and we're going to bring these things out, and we're going to spend more time starting with our next lesson, bringing these things out. And what I really want to hone in is this land business thing, the service aspect, and then we'll get into the products and also the investment business, and we'll be able to tackle those things and establish those things. And until next time, you have a blessed day. Enjoy your rest of your week.